When you think of Doom, some of you might picture this. Or this. Or even this.
Semper Fi, mother.
But while Doom has appeared in dozens of ways in its over 30-year lifespan, the importance of its place in gaming history means that when first hearing of it, many of you probably thought of this. While its importance in gaming history is a great subject to cover, that's not really what this video is about. You see, in addition to being an iconic franchise, it also gave us a meme that would push the bounds of game development in the most ridiculous ways possible. So, strap in, armor up, and join me on the deep dive of Will It Run Doom? To understand how you could play games on your phone before it was cool, we have to go all the way back to 1990. Computers were big, slow, and considered nothing more than workstations that simply lacked the power to compete with the advanced technology of the Nintendo Entertainment System. However, a programmer named John Carmack saw a different future for what gaming on PC could be. Working as a programmer for a company called Softdisk, Carmack would be introduced to a software designer by the name of John Romero. After the two proved a dynamic duo for Softdisk, they ultimately convinced the company to expand their output to include a full gaming division that would come to be called Gamer's Edge. Shortly thereafter, Carmack created processing shortcuts that allowed computers to emulate the side-scrolling platformers that were popular at the time. And he and Romero, alongside other talent, would go on to develop Commander Keen under the publisher Apogee Software. The success was both immediate and lucrative, as almost overnight the pair saw more money coming in than either of them thought previously possible. Using their newfound resources, the pair set out to create their magnum opus, with the sole goal of creating a genre-defining video game, a release by which all others would be measured. This next project would eventually be known as Doom. Incorporating the experimental process of binary space partitioning, Doom was among the first of its kind and represented a leap forward in gaming. And it was everywhere. Doom was so big that Bill Gates pretended he actually played video games. Congress filed a subpoena to get access to the cheat codes, and there was a good chance that if you asked your grandma, even she would have heard of it. So, they release Doom and it becomes a big success. Sure, but how do you go from that to Doom running on an ultrasound machine? Well, it turns out that Carmack had seen the amount of fun and longevity that modders had added to their previous release in Wolfenstein 3D, and knew that going into the creation of Doom, he wanted to give their creative fans the best possible tools to have even more fun with their most ambitious release yet.
It was an explicit top-line technical goal for me, but I also wanted to really make game modding a first top-level feature. So I knew that I wanted to enable actual changes of the gameplay. But the next step clearly was allowing people to really make whole new gameplay modes. And that's where there was still this desire to be able to say, well, what if we just gave them everything?
And that's exactly what John Carmack did. Just 4 years after Doom was first released, John Carmack released the game's entire source code for Linux, since he couldn't contractually release it for Windows, so it took 3 days before the community cracked that one.
Okay.
From there, it was an absolute free-for-all of new mods, new levels, and new game modes springing up all over the internet that immediately breathed new life into the game. But it wasn't just that the source code was available. With Carmack's focus on ensuring that the game could be easily modified, it also meant that the game's source code could just as easily be ported to new platforms. So when the novelty of modding the game began to fade, the opportunity to make Doom into anything you want slowly morphed into a challenge of can you make Doom anywhere you want? And the Doom community would stretch what was thought possible in order to answer with a yes. Though it started with some straightforward ports, it quickly spiraled into absolute insanity as technology evolved and more common devices were able to clear the game engine's extremely low bar for processing requirements. So playing Doom on a toothbrush? Sure. Through the display of a car where you have to honk the horn to shoot? Why not? On a graphing calculator powered exclusively by potatoes? Well, obviously. And it wasn't just hardware that people were getting creative with. A whole separate segment of the community tried to tweak software to do the same. Running Doom on a computer was easy, but how about inside the taskbar of a computer? On that note, what if you could get Doom to run inside Notepad? Or an Excel spreadsheet? Or even within the Windows Task Manager itself? You might be thinking to yourself, oh hey, this version of Doom looks pretty good. Well, it should. It's running inside of Fortnite. As recently as 2023, a PhD candidate was able to use gene activation to get Doom to run on a simulated version of luminescent gut bacteria. There seems to be no limit or barrier that people aren't willing to overcome in the pursuit of one of gaming's earliest and perhaps most interesting questions. Will it run Doom? And now, more than 30 years after the game's release, its legacy is being carried forward by a new generation of programmers that are looking to push the bounds of what's possible. And with that, I believe my job here is done, and until I see you next time, party on.
Anything that has a processor runs Doom. If it's got a 32-bit processor and it can conceivably display an image, people have ported Doom to it, and that code will live forever. 100 years from now, people will be able to dig up and run the Doom source code in some emulator.